we're criticizing things that we invented as a species, but that we cannot understand rationally. And we're predisposed to believe that ideas that we can't understand rationally have to be wrong. And sometimes that's true, but sometimes we're just not smart enough to understand them. So
question.
What could you do to improve yourself? Well, the first question might be, why should you even bother improving yourself? And I think the answer to that is something like, so you don't suffer any more stupidly than you have to. And maybe so others don't have to either. It's something like that. You know, like there's a real injunction at the bottom of it. It's not some casual self-help doctrine. It's that if you don't organize yourself properly, you'll pay for it, and in a big way, and so will the people around you. And you could say, well, I don't care about that, but that's actually not true. You actually do care about that, because if you're in pain, you will care about it. And so you do care about it, even if it's just that negative way, you know. It's very rare that you can find someone who's in excruciating pain who would ever say, well, it would be no better if I was out of this. Pain is one of those things that brings the idea that it would be better if it didn't exist along with it. It's incontrovertible. You get your act together so that there isn't any more stupid pain around you than necessary.
Question.
Well, how would you go about getting your act together? And the answer to that is something like, look around for something that bothers you and see if you can fix it. Fix it. Fix it. And see if you can fix it. Fix it. Fix it. Fix it. And see if you can fix it. So now you think, well, you can do this in a room. It's quite fun. Maybe your bedroom, you can sit there and just sort of meditate on it. If I wanted to spend 10 minutes making this room better, what would I have to do? But you have to ask yourself that, right? It's not a command, it's like a genuine question.
Question.
And things will pop out in the room. There's a stack of papers over there that's kind of bugging you, and things will pop out in the room. You know that maybe a little order there would be a good thing. And things will pop out in the room. There's some rubbish behind your computer monitor. And things will pop out in the room. The room would be slightly better. It was a little less dusty and the cables weren't all tangled up the same way. And if you allow yourself just to consider the expanse in which you exist at that moment, there'll be all sorts of things that'll pop out in it that you could just fix. And, you know, I might say, well, if you were coming to see me for psychotherapy, this easiest thing for us to do first would just be to get you to organize your room. You think, well, is that psychotherapy? And the answer is, well, it depends on how you conceive the limits of your being. And I would say, start where you can start. You know, if something announces itself to you, which is a strange way of thinking about it, as in need of repair, that you could repair, then, hey, fix it. You fix 100 things like that, your life will be a lot different. Fix it. Now, I often tell people too, fix the things you repeat every day. Fix it. Because people tend to think of those as trivial. Fix it. Those probably constitute 50% of your life. And people think, well, they're mundane, I don't need to pay attention to them. It's like, no, that's exactly wrong. The things you do every day, those are the most important things you do. Hands down. So 100 adjustments to your broader domain of being, and there's a lot less rubbish around and a lot fewer traps for you to step into. Traps for you to step into. Traps for you to step into.
Traps for you to step into.
Once you've got your mind and your emotions together, and once you're acting that out, then you can extend what you're willing to consider yourself and start fixing up the things that are a part of your broader extent. Now, just because things announce themselves as in need of repair doesn't mean that it's you right then and there that should repair them. You have to have some humility. You don't walk up to a helicopter that isn't working and just start tinkering away with it. You have to stay within your domain of competence. I like the idea of the room because you can do that at the drop of a hat. Go back to where you live and sit down and think, okay, I'm going to make this place better for half an hour. What should I do? You have to ask, and things will just pop up like mad. And it's partly because your mind is a very strange thing. As soon as you give it a name, a genuine aim, it'll reconfigure the world in keeping with that aim. Bucko, be careful what you aim at. What you aim at determines the way the world manifests itself to you. And so if the world is manifesting itself in a very negative way, one thing to ask is, are you aiming at the right thing? You know, I'm not trying to reduce everybody's problems to an improper aim. People get cut off at the knees for all sorts of reasons. There's a random element to being, that's for sure. And things do happen to people, but it's still a great thing to ask. Be careful what you aim at. Be careful what you aim at. Be careful what you aim at. Be careful what you aim at.
When I started working on this problem, or I guess when it started working on me, was probably really in the mid-80s. I found myself suffering from two things. One was a very lengthy sequence of nightmares about nuclear destruction. And they're very affecting dreams. And associated with that was a sense of amazement that a dream that was that awful could reflect a reality that could be that awful. And an additional amazement at the fact that despite the production of tens and thousands of weapons of unimaginable destruction, that people could go about their day-to-day lives without acting as if anything fundamental whatsoever had changed. Now, I've never really been able to figure out why that disturbed me so much when it seemed to not disturb most of the people I knew. It doesn't really matter. I probably spent my whole life trying to understand what evil was, and more importantly, what might be done about it. Before you can dare to talk about something like evil, you should do some thinking about what it is that you're talking about. And I don't think you can talk about it at all until you distinguish it from tragedy. The nature of human being is such that it consists of a confrontation with the bounded finite with the unbounded infinite. That those are the bare facts of the matter. The bounded finite with the unbounded infinite. The world of experience as it presents itself to us is literally and not metaphorically complex beyond our capacity to understand. And that means people deal in a real sense on an ongoing basis with the infinite. That fact is the reason why religious experience is essentially endemic to mankind. It's a human universal, and it's not because people believe. Human existence consists of a confrontation between the finite and the infinite. The finite and the infinite. The finite and the infinite. And religious systems merely take that into account. Now, our finitude in the face of the infinite has some inevitable consequences. Those consequences are essentially the existential conditions of life. The finite is always overwhelmed by the infinite. It has to be, because it can't encapsulate it. And so what that means is that that suffering is central to the nature of human existence. Suffering exists as the consequences of our limitations. Every single person who's alive is going to die. And every single person who's alive is going to deal with serious physical illness and mental distress. And so the fact of our finitude is it's central to the nature of our being, and we're forced to deal with it on an ongoing basis. If you could do absolutely anything you wanted at any point and be anywhere you wanted to be, anything you wanted, and if there was nothing that was out of your reach, there would be nothing to do. There's no story, and there's no being, and there's something about being that is a story, and without limitation, there's no story. Humans are vulnerable, and that's tragic. But if tragedy is the price that we pay for existence, then so be it. And so tragedy itself can't be regarded as evil. It's a condition of existence. So earthquakes aren't evil, and cancer isn't evil, and mental illness isn't evil, and predators aren't evil. So earthquakes aren't evil, and cancer isn't evil, and earthquakes aren't evil, and cancer isn't evil, and mental illness isn't evil, and predators aren't evil. They just are part of the way things are.